Hey guys, and welcome to Unit 4, Part 4 of your video notes for Learning Unit. We are going to be talking about observational learning and how we learn through experiences and imitating behavior and model what someone else does. So observational learning in a whole is learning that occurs when a person observes and imitates a behavior, again, modeling. We see this a lot, or easily can see this a lot with like 2 to 3 year olds. They will model or mimic a behavior or a person. And again, just like in the last video notes, if you want it to happen again, you reinforce it. If you don't, you punish it. One of our key people in this unit is Albert Bandura. He is a very, very important person when it comes to this unit. He came up with the social cognitive theory, and pretty much says that there's environmental factors, cognitive factors, and behavioral factors. Some of these environmental factors are social norms that influence behavior, access to community beings or activities, events, and influence on others, ability to change the environment you're with, realizing your morals and whether the people you surround yourself with are a positive or negative influence. Some of our cognitive factors include just the knowledge we have, expectations, and our attitudes towards one another. These cognitive factors could also be called personal factors. And then we have our behavioral factors that are just skills that we have that help determine human behavior. Practicing some of these new skills that we observe, and then just having self-efficacy. Here's another just pretty little chart of Bandura's observational learning methods. Another key thing you guys need to know with our Bandura is his clown experiment. Bandura, Bobo, both start with B. He would conduct experiments and watch children's behavior after adults modeled different behaviors towards the Bobo doll. And more often than not, when the adults acted aggressively, the children repeated those aggressive behaviors. Real world implications. We now are starting to look into how video games, violent movies, and all of that influence children's behaviors nowadays, and think about how easy some of these more higher aged games are being exposed to these younger kids. Other cognitive factors in learning. Tolman believed in purposefulness, the idea that much of behavior is goal-directed. There's a purpose behind it, so if you study, then you'll do well in life. It's not just going to college means you're going to do well. It's really important that people are goal-directed, goal-setting, self-regulation and self-monitoring. You're kind of reflecting on what you're doing. You're reaching those goals and setting more goals. You're just trying to always better yourself. Then we have what's known as expectancy learning. And that's where we just have a person who will behave or act in a certain way because they're motivated for a specific behavior. Someone might be motivated for money, but she might not value others' time off. So you might want to work to get that money. Latent learning and implicit learning are very similar to one another. Latent learning is where you have learning that has occurred, but it's not apparent until afterwards. And that's kind of like a cognitive feature. One of the examples with this is when you're driving somewhere and you get to your destination, someone might be like, "Oh, how did you get to here?" And you might, out of nowhere, be like, "Oh, you go down the hall, turn right, go up the stairs, and it's the first door on your left." It could be your first time in this new place, and that's what you get. Implicit learning, again, it's without awareness that something has been learned. A good example is learning how to read body language sometimes. So if you go home and you take a whole pile of dirty laundry and throw it on the ground in front of your mom, you might get that look. And if she just gave you that look another time, you might not know what it means, but then in that situation, you're like, "Oh, I know what this look means now." So I want you guys to answer this discussion question somewhere at the bottom of your paper or on the side, wherever you have room, and highlight near it. So how can latent learning and learning the lay of the chapter influence success in AP Psych? Okay, think about it. Then we have our insight learning. And this is kind of like our aha, a sudden insight, the light bulb goes off moment. You kind of have to think outside of the box. This, we look at Wolfgang Kohler to kind of show us what insight learning is. And we're going to look at some of the real footage from this experiment. So if you guys look at the bottom three images, the chimp has a treat up in the air, can't reach it, so he problem solves. And then if you look in the top right, it's since it was reinforced, since he got it, then he's going to repeat that behavior. Sometimes we do have biological constraints. Instinctive drift, this is mainly with animals. They will go back to reverting to their instinctual behavior that could interfere with learning. And that's fine. Sometimes biology wins. Preparedness, this can be species-specific biological predispositions that we help learn in certain ways but not in other. And that one of the key ones that you guys have is taste aversions in humans. And this is because at a most basic level, at cavemen and cavewomen times, if we were out hunting and gathering, if we ate something that made us sick, we would come up with that taste aversion and probably not want to eat that again to avoid being sick. Noam Chomsky, he's really important for language acquisition and definitely one of your top key people. But he believed that we are pre-wired, it's in our brain before we are born to learn language. He has said that we are designed to walk, that we are taught to walk is impossible, and that the same is true for language, and you can't prevent a child from actually learning it, which is kind of cool. We do have cultural influences on classical conditioning, opera conditioning, and observational learning. They're all universal, but culture can play an influence. We see this with school. Examples, Mexican American students prefer observational learning through mimicking, modeling. Euro-American students tend to prefer direct instruction, like lecture notes, that kind of thing. And we have seen many studies where this information is repeated. But we also see how it can influence content, and just based on where we live and what religion is prominent in the area can influence content. Other factors, psychological constraints, your mindset, fixed mindset versus growth. Your mindset can be fixed, which means that their qualities are carved in stone and they can't change. If you fail, you're always going to fail. You will continue to fail for the rest of your life. You're just a failure in general. You're fixated on that. Growth mindset, you believe that qualities can change and improve. If you failed, you might say, what do I need to do better? What do I need to learn? What can I be retaught? How can I ask for help? How can I problem solve? You're showing growth. In developing a growth mindset, understanding that your intelligence and thinking skills are not fixed, but you can change. Become passionate about what you're learning and stretch your mind. Think about people with growth mindset that you admire and just start now. You guys need to have a growth mindset. You guys need to be passionate about learning, because you're going to be a lifelong learner. And then our other factors with learning are health and wellness. Factors can help with stress. If you know that certain things are a stressor for you, you can try to control it. You can try to find coping mechanisms to improve the reduction of stress, or just find other coping mechanisms that are outlets for your frustration or stress. For my sister, she was getting very stressed and she started running. And now she runs a whole lot. Some people stress eat, but I've never met an Oreo I didn't like, so that's okay. But everybody's different. We all need to find our coping mechanisms and our way to improve how we are and what we do so we can learn and change the future. Hope you guys have a great day and see you guys in Unit 5.